Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and Happy New Year. You're looking live at PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Tuesday. We're going to kick it off here in a minute with Buddy Martin from Gator Media. And then we're going to have Jameel from Meelypops Card Shop talk about how hot the market is for collecting sports cards. If you got your questions, shoot them to us via Facebook, YouTube, or on the Titan Tomorrow text line. Let's go. If you missed it last night, two tremendous semifinal games. Alabama loses to Michigan in overtime, and then it comes down to the last play of the game. The Washington Huskies survive and advance. So you have Michigan and Washington Monday night for the national championship. Let's go to the Titan Tomorrow hotline, where we are joined by Buddy Martin, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. How you doing, my man?
Good morning. Happy New Year to you, Shane. Yeah, my eyes are kind of glazed over from watching so much football. A lot to watch there. And you can't argue the college football committee got it right on these two games, right down to the last play, Shane. And some excellent play, a little sloppy play, but not the two teams I picked to win. I had the other guys.
Well, I did too, but I give them credit. I tell you what, Michigan manhandled, I thought,
Boy, did they
the
ever.
trenches of Alabama. A lot of people were debating about the last play of the game. Honestly, my assessment on that was it was not a terrible play call. It was somewhat an RPO. The low snap screwed the timing of the play up.
Yeah,
You could either
I
throw the
agree.
swing to the back or run the quarterback power. And if Milroe actually follows his pulling guard, Milroe, it was a terrible run on his part. He just ran right up the middle with his head down. If he follows the pulling guard, he probably scores. However, the right tackle kind of got pushed back into him. But I
Yeah.
think he just panicked and just ran straight ahead. But shoot, it was a heck of a game. Give Michigan credit. They're strong up front, man.
I don't know if I've ever seen an Alabama team dominate like that. They dominated the defense, totally dominated them. I mean, Milroe played great, but they got pressure on him from ways I didn't know was even possible. And I had never even heard of the defensive coordinator, but we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, I mean, the quality of the games were, I would like it better to see the two SEC teams because Shane, next year, Texas is an SEC team, make it to the final round, but they did not. And so we got to give Michigan Harbaugh's easy to hate. He did some things that were sort of reprehensible this year and missed 6 games. But when it came time to have his team ready, they were ready to play, and their defense was really remarkable.
Yep, it was. On YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Richard says, Shane, watch some of these well-coached bowl teams play. It's obvious that the Gators have a very long way to go. Napier's not
I
close to being an
agree.
elite coach, and I don't think he ever will be. Maybe not, but
Yeah.
we don't have talent like these teams either.
Yeah.
Rod says the best quarterbacks won the games. I agree with that. I said, Milroe had a good year. He's so limited throwing the football though, and he got exposed by Michigan's defense.
Well, yeah, he did. But I mean, Urban Meyer said it was like Percy Harvin playing tailback. The guy is athletically so skilled, so big, so strong, so fast, and he throws the ball just adequately. I'd say about like Tebow, would you say? He and Tebow were similar in that regard. Maybe Tebow
I
was a little
think
more
Tebow.
accurate.
Well,
More accurate.
Milroe throws a good deep ball, but I think
Yeah.
Tebow's a better thrower on all the
Yeah.
intermediate
I
stuff.
agree with that. Yeah.
Uh,
But
Johnny also says it pains him to see all these Florida kids starting on other teams that Florida can't keep these kids home. I guess he's talking about Michael Penix Jr. Yeah, he's from the
well,
Tampa
why
area.
not? Yeah.
Well, just what I think people fail to realize that uh, we don't know if the Florida. I think he wanted to go to FSU or had an offer to FSU. I know he had an offer to Tennessee. They pulled it or something. Um, but the bottom line is, you never know how they're going to pan out, and it's easy to sit here and say, well, we should try to keep these kids in the state. Well, there's plenty of places for them to go, and you got to remember, Indiana took him. He got hurt there. He followed his coach to Washington, and he's had a heck of a year. He's a phenomenal thrower of the football, and you know,
Well, I
so
mean, yeah, he is. I mean, I talked to Coach Spurrier. He met him at the Heisman finals, and he asked him a couple of questions. And I guess he went to a small school. Who recruited Tampa Bay Tech? That's the question. Little tiny school. I never heard of it before.
no, it's a big school. It's a big school.
Is it?
They have a good football program down there, if I'm not mistaken. But
Do they?
look, he may not have been that great or highly. I mean, look, he's at Washington. Give him a lot of credit. Cliff says he's a very accurate passer. He's extremely accurate. He's got a great feel for the game. He's cool, calm, collective. I think he'll be one of the top 4 quarterbacks taken in the draft in the first
Yeah.
round. I think
Yeah.
it'll be Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Penix will be your first round picks.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, Penix is new to me. I had not seen him play, and I got to apologize to him right now for not putting him on my Heisman Trophy ballot. I don't believe him. I would have put him on there instead of somebody else I had in third place or whatever. But the bottom line is that you don't see the guys play. I don't see Washington that often, and so I couldn't make a judgment on the guy I hadn't even seen. But I'm telling you, I was really impressed because Shane, you talk about accuracy, you talk about always a catchable ball. Here's a guy who has the ability to put the ball on a dime, on a rope, and also lay it right in the sweet spot. And the ball's catchable, Shane.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's like I said, he's a hell of a quarterback. We got some questions here on Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law. Um, they're asking me what my thoughts are on the new defensive line coach hire and the strength coaching. I guess they're good hires. I mean, you
Who
got to just
knows?
trust. I know
Who
nothing
knows?
about them.
Who knows?
Then Andy wants to know where will Cam Ward be in the QB drafting order? He's coming out. I did see he is coming out. That's a good. I forgot about him. I think a lot of it has to do how his workouts go and how his combine work goes. I would think so. I
Well, Shane,
I don't
here's
know.
a
Cam Ward's a good player, but I
yeah.
don't know if he's better than the 4 that I mentioned.
Don't know much about him. Uh, here's the thing about getting back to Michigan's defense. You don't see Alabama dominate like that physically very often, hardly ever. And they suffocated Michigan did Milroe with these pressure packages. Now, where did these pressure packages come from? I'd like to see Florida develop some.
Well, if you look at it closely, buddy, because I wanted to tweet Kirk Herbstreit, not that he listens to my tweet, but they were pressures, but they were 4 and 5 man pressures. Those weren't even blitzes.
Yeah.
That's where they couldn't. Milroe does not do a very good job of redirecting your protection. And they would just bring 3 from one side, and all you got to do is slide your line that way when you see it coming. So I think Michigan, whatever you want to say about them, where they steal signs, whatever, they had a very good plan against Jalen Milroe, knowing that he could not redirect the protection, and he's not a great thrower. And they took advantage of it. They let him loose a couple of times. I texted a buddy of mine. I said what he needs to do is drop back, watch the rush, and take off running. And he did that a few times, and that's when they had some success. But
true. But had you heard of? I didn't know who the defensive coordinator for Michigan was. I had to look him up. Of course, I don't watch Big Ten football. But Jesse Minter, you know where he's from? You know where he
his
coached?
dad's Rick Minter, who was a longtime coach. But no, I don't know where he's from.
He coached at Vanderbilt 3 years ago. All right.
Okay.
He was with the Ravens, of course. That makes a big difference for his 4th season. But he's obviously one of those bright young coaches that you've never heard of. At least I never have. Maybe those guys like Andy have. But I mean, I thought that he had a terrific game plan. I was really impressed and I was impressed with J.J. McCarthy. He's a fighter, man. I got to tell you, he's Michigan. You can switch to a Harbaugh, but this team, they wanted it the most. They got it, and I was impressed how they played. And someone said earlier about the level of play. I agree with whoever said. You look at these guys, how fast and how well organized they are. You think Florida's not at this level at this point in time. By the same token, let's not forget all the mistakes. It's a bad snaps. I know they were talking
Yeah,
about, well, it
terrible.
really wasn't the center's fault. Hell yes, it's the center's fault. I mean, it's a bad snap. And he kicked them, even like you said, the last play was a low snap. Speak to, again, Shane, the timing on that. When you're getting that snap and you get to just a missed timing when you're going to run the football can make a big difference in a snap or two.
Yeah, Andy says the last play call was awful. Why not get Milroe outside? Well, as I said, if you look at it, it really wasn't a bad play call. If you watch it, Milroe had he did a terrible job running the football in this play. The snap calls being a low threw a lot of timing off. He had an option to either throw the swing route if he wanted it, which I don't think he was going to throw in the first place. But all it was a quarterback power where you block down, pull the right guard, and they're in man on the line of scrimmage got so far upfield you didn't have to block him, but the right tackle got pushed back and Milroe just ran right up the middle instead of following his puller. I think he scores, quite honestly. I think he scores if he follows his the
Blocking.
puller like he's supposed to. So Milroe did
Shane,
not play very well. It's not only on him, but Alabama was not the better team. Michigan was clearly the better team in my opinion.
I agree. Did you what was your thinking on how the game ended? There was a chess match that went on between the two coaches there. The timeouts back and forth. And Saban talked about his son. You know, what they were trying, they got into one formation, then they called timeout, and they went to the other side and they got down. And then then Michigan successfully diagnosed or guessed which play they were going to call, and they were ready for them.
Yeah. Joseph says, QB, most of the viewers highly respect your opinions and takes on Florida football. Can you please stop with the we've only been good for about 20 years out of 100 plus years crap? You play to win the game. Look, I'm just stating the facts, my man. Whether you like it or not, that's the facts. Okay? Facts.
I would disagree with you on a couple of. I think there were some good teams.
Okay,
they were not
but buddy, what I'm
teams.
saying is people talk about Florida getting back to being relevant in a dominant program. The facts are the Florida Gators were only dominant for the 12 years Florida was Spurrier was the coach and the 6 years that Urban Meyer was the coach.
And you started in 1990. I agree.
Okay, well, but that doesn't matter. The facts are the facts. Would you, buddy? You've cut them a long time. Was Florida relevant any other time in a dominant football program other than those two coaches?
Well, I don't know how dominant they were. Pretty relevant in '69 when they won those 9 games to beat the SEC champion in the bowl game. So I give them a little bit. They were not obviously were not a dominant program, but that was a great year for a lot of fans who had a lot of joy in that team. Now, granted, you know, they didn't have championship games. The one they won in '84, they didn't take back. Obviously, it was cheating. Other than that, 1928, I wasn't here then, Shane. I couldn't tell you, but they were close to playing for a championship in the Rose Bowl. But no, for the most part, yeah, you're right. They were not that relevant and certainly not dominant, but there were a couple of decent teams in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm as big Gator as anybody, but I try to lay it on the line. And if you don't believe me, go research it, my friend. Go research it.
No, you're right on that. You're right.
Yeah. Go text on the Titan Mark text line. From Dara says, good morning. Michigan was the better team, I thought. Do you think Alabama relies too much on Jalen Milroe? What did you think of the Tennessee QB? I know it's only one game. I didn't see one play of the Tennessee game. I didn't see one play of the LSU game.
I didn't either.
So Milroe makes them go, especially when he's running the football. And he didn't complete any deep passes, and that's what he usually does. Like I said, I thought Michigan's plan was excellent. They had a lot of tape. They had a lot of time to prepare. They had, like I said, a lot of looks at Jalen Milroe, what gave him problems throughout the year, and they did a pretty good job.
Shane, let me tell you. Can I tell you what how Saban described the last play? Did you read that? Saban said, "We called 3 plays." He said, "One they called timeout, one we called timeout. The last one that didn't work. The fact that it didn't really work made it really a bad call. You know what I mean? But we called timeout.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was a bad call. If you go back and look at it, Milroe.
But he was being facetious when he said that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we called timeout because we had a bad look. We had a good look on the first, and they must have known it. Well,
we got a text on the Titan Mark text line from Frank. He says, "Did Detroit get cheated in the NFL against Dallas?" All right, I'm glad that came up.
That was a
People
great
missed it.
football game. That was a great football game.
It was a phenomenal game. So only one person can report when they come in like that. What the problem with it, Detroit, what they did was, and they even talked about this, is they sent a couple extra linemen towards the official to try to maybe confuse Dallas if they're paying attention to that, because the D line are supposed to pay attention to that in the NFL when they report. So I think the official got confused at who was reporting, because I think three offensive linemen went over there.
Yeah.
It's a shame, because it was a heck of a play. And
what a heartbreaker for Detroit.
Yeah, because I picked Detroit to go to the Super Bowl. I still think well, I don't know if they can beat the 49ers. So anyway.
Well, that was a great football game. A lot of good football.
Yep. Let's see here. A couple more texts here on the Titan More text line. Can Purdy quit if he has any college eligibility? Go back to school to make more money? Yeah, he's not going back though.
Yeah. Did you hear the news about the transfer today? KJ Jefferson is going to UCF.
Oh, going to UCF?
Yeah.
Yeah. That does not surprise me. He's a good fit for what Gus Malzahn likes to do. So the Gators will get to see big KJ early in the year next year when we play the Knights. This is from, I'm not sure who it's from. It says, appeared that if the ball wasn't tipped at the end of regulation, it would have sailed and Bama would have intercepted. Game over. It's a matter of little luck, like Coach Burry said. Yeah, that's true. That one crossing pattern that J.J. McCarthy threw, the ball got tipped and still continued to spiral, which is weird.
Yeah.
But it went high, and the guy made a phenomenal catch.
He did. A great run. Yeah.
Yeah. So, buddy, we got a couple of texts, and over the weekend, Scooby Williams, one of the starting linebackers, is now in the portal. Does that surprise you?
It did. And he's a terrific young player. I like him a lot. The position I thought was pretty well fortified. Now they got Jamar James. I guess he's staying. At one point, he was talking about going to the portal. And so this is damaging. But like you said, you have to wait until all the smoke is cleared and see who's going where, because there's other players available. It's, some people have just kind of forgotten about recruiting. I was talking to a coach last week. He says nobody talks to high school players anymore. They all go to the portal and talk to guys that already played. So it's shifting in that regard. And it's hurt a lot of kids coming out of high school because the attention is being diverted to the portal. So Scooby Williams is a big loss, in my opinion.
He is, but he isn't. He was one of the lowest graded. I don't really buy into the whole grading system.
Yeah.
But he was one of the lowest graded players for the entire year. So I don't know if he felt like he was forced out, or I don't know. I think Billy, I don't know if Billy recruited him or Mullen. I can't remember. But he was not a consistent player. So
I liked him as a linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah. Buddy, what who you got on your program tonight?
Well, you, for one, because you weren't on there last night, and then we got a usual cast of characters. David Whitley will be joining us, Lauren Meadows. We talked a little bit about the recruiting situation in Florida. Scooby Williams looking into some more of that stuff, and obviously these playoff games, which is what we have to go now all week long. And then the big championship game coming this weekend. I got to admit, I'm not quite as enthused about it now that Texas and Alabama are knocked out of it. But give them credit; those two teams deserve to win. And the college football, when they got it right, those were the two best teams.
Yes, for sure. Text on the Titan More text line from Jeff. He says, I don't understand all the hype and love from the Gator Nation for Willie Corn as OC. Did anyone watch the Liberty game?
Yeah, they scored with 6 points, right?
I did not watch the Liberty game. I didn't see one play of it either.
I didn't either.
So I don't know if Willie Corn's going to be the OC. Buddy, what are you hearing there?
Oh, I saw a picture of him today on Twitter, and a video of him jumping up to yell when they finally scored. And somebody said, was that a Gator bracelet he was wearing? I couldn't tell. I don't know much about Willie Corn. That seems to be the name we're hearing, but there's no guarantee Willie Corn's going to be the guy. I just don't know. But I kind of feel like, again, Billy's lagging in the portal. And I wish we could get a little more news about that. And it makes you feel like there's not much going on there. And look, there's one thing we found out. Guys like Nick Saban are having a more difficult time being dominant now, since they aren't as aggressive in the portal as they are on the recruiting trail. It's a changed game. A lot of people are sort of spending their money on recruiting guys in the portal. If that's the case, then Florida's still a step behind. And I don't know if they can make it up. They got the recruiting classes they had. We all talked about being ranked at 1.2 or 3 in the country. Well, a good chunk of that is gone. Now, what do? You go to the portal. Where are these guys? Who's out there recruiting them? I don't know. But it seems to me that's the focus. For Florida's got to have guys that can play right away.
Yeah, and they're trying to get people in the portal. I'll just let everybody know that they're trying. Again, money talks and winning talks. So, let's see here. There was a Facebook Live I wanted to read here if I can find it. I don't know what's going on. If anybody knows why Facebook doesn't let you scroll up and down with comments anymore, or maybe it's my computer. I have to go to my phone and look it up, which I do not like doing. But I will.
It does on the phone.
No, on the phone it works fine.
Yeah.
It's and it used to work fine on my computer, but
Yeah.
Facebook is always changing stuff and it drives me insane.
Yeah, you always complain about Facebook. What is it with you and Facebook, man?
I don't know. I'm never on there, but James says Billy not hiring an offensive coordinator, it's his job on the line. Again, this is my opinion. Some of you guys like my opinion. Some of y'all think I'm a dumb as hell. I don't really care. Offense is not the problem for the Florida Gators. Okay. If y'all watched any football, defense and special teams were atrocious. Now, can we be more consistent and more explosive on offense? I do agree with that. But let's address the other issues first. Shelvin says, do Michigan, Georgia, or Washington have rosters with number of portal players who greatly contributed this year? Yes. Yeah. Washington's tailback is from Mississippi State. Didn't play very much. He's a very good player. So anyway, Reggie says, looks like we're pushing for Cassius Howell from Bowling Green, a linebacker. Okay. And then Don asked on Facebook Live, is Brandon Spikes officially in any leadership role with our defense now? Not that I'm aware of.
I'm not aware of that either.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of that, but you don't know. I mean, again, we're dealing in abstracts, which means we don't really know anything in concrete. And I hate to sound like a broken record because I don't want to, I've got my New Year's resolutions to be more positive. But when you don't know and you have to guess, there's nobody feeding you information. That void creates a feeling that nothing's going on. I've said this 100 times, say it again. Florida needs to have a person who addresses the needs of the public want to know, and Billy's not going to be it. You cannot run a program out of press conferences. So I don't know what Scott Strickland's doing there. It seems to me that he has to have some more talking heads out there and people talking about people who have knowledge. We don't know. We don't get information. So whoever's got information, they're so tight to the vest on everything for fear that someone's going to find out what they're doing. They give you nothing. So until we get something, all we have is the people grousing because it feels like Florida's program is slipping behind. I don't want to keep talking about that all the time on my show every day, and you don't want to hear it. But how do we address it? Now, there was a time when Florida Victorious they still give a few people access to players. Last year, we got access to players for 15, 16 straight weeks, and then they cut it off. And now we've got, that was a different program before Florida Victorious. Now Florida Victorious is here. I hear that they're trying to do something about that. I've talked to some people that I know who are very good, very terrific boosters. They know a lot, and they could help them a lot in the public relations department. But to me, whether you like it or not, you've got to address that. And Billy made one bad mistake, in my opinion, at least in his press conference. When someone asked him, well, how do you explain this to the fans? He says, it's not my job to explain it to the fans. I disagree. It is your job to explain it. And if you're not going to, who's going to talk to the fans and the media? So until you get that fixed, you're going to get a lot of negative pub.
Roseover State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. A few more minutes with Buddy Martin on the Titan Elmore Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We'll be joined by Jameel from the Meelypops. If you got any card collecting questions, please give us a call. A text or what have you.
Shane, there's a view I get every morning now. That's St. Andrews Bay.
Wow, look at Buddy.
It's my office right there.
Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
we're here to see the birds diving out here. It's beautiful, beautiful spot. My new location for what time being, and we'll be coming to you from here tonight as well. That's our new digs here in Bay County, by the way.
Andy wants to know, buddy, if you could have any Gator player on your show, who would it be?
Well, obviously, you want the QB naturally. You like to have him. He's been around on a few programs. I'd like to have some guys. I enjoyed the ones I had. The ones I had. I need to know more about the defensive line. Obviously, there'll be one. Players, I'm okay with any of the players they give me as long as they're starters and will talk. Because not everybody you think will talk will. I would really like to get the QB back on our show again and talk to him.
Kenny says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Good morning. If Billy doesn't work out, I hope he does. I would like to see ex-Gator players that are coaches because they know what it's like to win the SEC. What do you think about that, buddy?
Ex-Gators are coaches. Yeah, but pretty soon people will say to you, like do to me, buddy, you're living in the past. That's not happening again. Shane Matthews ain't coming back. You got to start looking forward from here. And they're right.
No, he's talking about ex-Gators that are coaching out in the college profession.
I thought you meant
to be
like
hired.
Brandon Spikes. Okay. Well, that'd be good. Yeah. I'd like that. Who would you like that list to be?
Well, there's only one guy.
I know, Kerwin Bell, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we get Kerwin on the show? He's your friend.
Been on my show multiple times.
Yeah.
So I just pick and choose when I have him. I mean, I talk to him 2 or 3 times a week.
What's he saying? Tell us.
He's excited for his team that he's got at Western Carolina.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a damn about the Gators. He's worried about his team.
Well, who would be on your hot list right now besides Kerwin?
Well, he's like the only former Gator that's a head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So James wants to know, with Graham Mertz injured, will he be able to play in the spring game? He should be healthy by then, but I don't know if he'll play much in that. Oh, I forgot about Sam McCorkle at Dartmouth. Jed's not a former player. Jed's just a former student.
Is a friend of Spurrier's.
Yeah.
He claims to be a friend of Spurrier's.
Yeah, he coached for Coach. So
yeah.
Anyway, Alan in Atlanta on the Titan of our text line says, I hear we are lagging in the portal. Can anyone tell us how many scholarships we have to fill? I do not know. Lots of talking, but I have no idea how many we need, and fan expectations are most likely out of whack that we have that many slots. I'm sure if you go on Twitter, some of those guys that are beat writers could tell you.
I had a list of people. I had a list of people that they've lost by position last week. Somebody broke it down for me by position. How many they've lost? I don't have it in front of me right now, but I went down east linebackers and D-backs, etc. So yeah, I mean, it seems like as you point out, Shane, the needs for defensive players and coaches are there. I still haven't heard any more about the 2 offensive line coaches being split up. I'm beginning to think that Billy's going to fight to keep that. I haven't seen the evidence that 2 coaches have helped him more than one would, because at the end of the year, the offensive line play was one of the weak points. So I'm just not sure what we talked about this earlier in the year, who we'd like to see come in, or at least what position coaches. And we still want to see a special teams coach. And we obviously want to see an offensive coordinator. Maybe you don't necessarily.
No, I'm more concerned about the other issues. I mean, you can complain about freaking offense all you want at every school. Joe says Lane Kiffin's wants someone that knows how to use the portal. So if Billy leaves, that's my pick. We need portal help.
I can't.
He knows how to use the portal, but he's got a lot of money. They're throwing it around there.
Yeah.
Like I said the other day on this show, the Grove Collective has over, I think, 6,000 members. I think Florida Victorious is about 2,700.
Right.
Yes. Now that could have changed. So somebody wants to correct me, I have no problem being wrong, but that's what I read. And Ole Miss they got boosters that will throw money around.
Ole Miss is impressive. Lane Kiffin was impressive. His play calling was extraordinary. You look at it and say, boy, if you can only have that kind of play calling.
He's
I
a
thought he
very
was
good play
brilliant.
caller.
Yes,
He's
he
a
is.
yeah. He was born to be a play caller. I mean,
Yeah.
people, you either are or you aren't. So,
Well, his
all right,
daddy was
buddy.
his daddy was one of the great defensive coordinators in the NFL, as we know. Invented
Mhm.
the Tampa too, so he knows football. Yes,
Yep.
sir. Happy New
All right,
Year,
buddy.
Shane.
Yep. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you tonight, my man.
Be on with Shane Matthews tonight, the Buddy Barton Show. Don't forget, check it out. Thanks, Shane. Happy New
All right.
Year.
That's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll be joined by Jameel from Meelypops, talking a little sports card collecting. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Going to head back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. And we're joined by Jameel from Meelypops Card Collecting Shop here in town. Good morning, Jameel. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing, Shane? Happy New Year.
Yes, same to you. I wanted to get you on because I know the card industry is kind of, I want to say it's spiking. It's kind of nuts right now. You're going to open up a new shop up in the Carolinas. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah, so we've had a shop here in Gainesville for it'll be our 6th year in June, and we decided to venture out of state. Got a good team and good partners, friends up in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is right up there by Columbia and Clemson and Greenville. They call it the Upstate, and so we're opening a shop in early February. It's going to be a new venture for us. And yeah, the card industry, like you said, it's been a wild ride since COVID.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to get you on because like I'm already getting a bunch of texts about cards and stuff. Right now, what's the hottest card collecting sport or item going on right now?
Great. So we usually go by seasons, right? So what's hot in season and whatever's off season is a great time to buy. I always tell people that is if a sport's not being played right now, it's probably a good time to buy and stock up. So baseball right now is perfect to try and buy. But in terms of football right now, people are going a little bat crazy over Lamar because Lamar Jackson was he's always been kind of one of these quarterbacks that's floated. He won the MVP that one year, but his cards now are hyper accelerating, specifically his rookie cards. And in sports cards, like many of you know, the big thing people look at is the rookie year. So this current year, 2023 football, CJ Stroud has been a very interesting card, and there's a couple layers to it, and I can talk about that later with fanatics and autographs and stuff now. But CJ Stroud cards have been one thing that we can't keep in shop. Another guy too that I think he's had his ups and downs, but I think it's people are predicting them. I heard you talking about Detroit earlier, but it's Brock Purdy. So we'll see. You know, I think that might be the NFC Championship game. We'll see how that all pans out. If that can even happen, I'm sure with Detroit on that side. But CMC, another guy from the 49ers. You don't usually invest in running backs. You don't usually want running backs, but he seems to be, I always tell people, he's the Steph Curry of the NFL. Kids love Christian McCaffrey. They love his running style. They love what he's about. And I think people are excited to see him do well coming out of Carolina into San Francisco. So football is the hot stuff right now. Basketball, we could talk about Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, Ant-Man, another guy huge in the NBA. Baseball, Ohtani was crazy last year, and I think it's taking another level now because now where he's going. And on top of that, we got a Gator who's actually changing. He's been very exciting to see his cards. That's Wyatt Langford, because his first cards came out. His first Bowman cards came out in Bowman draft, and that's a really unique set every year where they bring in the prospects from the previous year. And this year they added Tom Brady's first baseball card, and they had him sign cards, and there's actually a $500,000 bounty out on one of his cards. So it creates this kind of just pandemonium and chaos.
I know in card collecting, you know, it's like a couple like in the 70s or maybe it's in the 80s, there's a few years that those cards aren't very valuable. Why is that?
Yeah, so in the 70s is kind of when you saw the peak of the cards. You know, I was born in the 80s and collected in the 90s. So I knew from 70s to the 90s, specifically late 70s to mid 90s, they call it the junk wax era. So wax is a term we use for unopened boxes, right? And so when you buy a box of cards, I got a bunch of them behind me here. This is our breaking studio where we open cards up live for people online. A case of cards is usually 6, 12, 15 boxes, and they're limited. They're made now in runs of about 6,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. But the problem was in the 70s, 80s, and into especially the early 90s, is they were making cases in the runs of 400,000, 500,000. Wow. And so we call that the junk wax era because there was just way, way, way too much supply. And again, there was no internet back then, right? You know, no one really understood the dynamics nationally, internationally of how much cards are being made. And now when we look back at that, we can say, oh, wow, that was an overproduction of cards. I have people still to this day that come in with boxes from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, things that they held, they were told it would be worth 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x. And unfortunately, it's not. It's actually less than what they might have bought it for. And that's saying something with inflation and how prices change.
We got a text here on the Titan More text line from Daryl. He says, ask Jameel, I have a Michael Jordan 0910 Upper Deck MGA Legacy card, 10 men or better. He's in his Carolina uniform. Is this card worth anything? It's completely sealed.
Yeah, so there's I'd have to see it. So there's an idea of cards that are not graded and cards that are graded. So a card like that, if it looks mint and you think it's really strong, I would definitely get it graded, because a PSA 10 or a BGS 95 gem mint of that kind of card accelerates the value 2, 3, 4, 5x of what it normally is. And if it's what we would call a pop one, which means that it may be the highest graded of that, especially if the legacy card is limited, can be worth quite a bit. So I think with those cards, there's a whole world of learning now. It's changed from the 90s and the 80s. It's very much online centric and grading centric, where people are selling cards left and right online. We use eBay. It's the tool that dealers and people are using to look at market values. There are apps and other things that have come out, but still people go by eBay sold listings. On top of that, you have the grading companies that have just huge. We have one of the biggest ones in the country, in the world. It's called SGC. That's down in Fort Lauderdale. And then we have Beckett in Texas and PSA in California. So that kind of card, to answer your listener's question there, is I'd have to see it, but you can always bring it by the shop if you're in town, or send us a picture. I can tell you if it's something that might look like grading, and then you might have a little bit of money on your hand.
Bob has a question here. Wants to know what's the most valuable card that you have personally.
Who said what they said?
What's the most valuable card you have personally,
Valuable card. So
or I guess worth the most money?
yeah. So a lot of those cards we people always ask, where are they? Can we see them? It's like, well, we don't usually keep those in the shop. We make appointments for those kinds of things. We have cards that sell anywhere from $50 to $150,000. Some of them being high-end Mickey Mantle rookie cards. Some of them being, for example, I brought up Anthony Edwards. He was a guy that I purchased a big card from a couple years ago. It's probably about $75,000 card that came out just a couple years ago from a brand called National Treasures. We even delve into the trading card world. We have a couple Charizard cards for Pokemon that are worth $50,000, $60,000. So there's a lot of the higher end inventory. It's crazy to think, but that's where we're at in terms of nostalgia and collecting.
William asked here on the Titan MR text line, give us the reasoning behind the name of your shop, Meelypops.
That's a great question, William. So my name is Jameel. I was called Mealy as a kid. And my mom is English. So in England, they do things a little different over there. They have different funny names for things. They call everything very strange. I'm drinking tea right now out of my Tampa Bay Bucks mug right now. So my mom brought me up on English traditions. Well, in England, they love soccer. So I grew up on soccer, played soccer. I was pretty good as a kid. And when I would score goals, my uncles, he would always say Meelypops. I don't know if it was an English thing or what, but like I popped a goal or whatever it was playing. So it's just a nickname as a kid. My mom would call it to me later. She'd call me Meelypops, and her brother were really close. So it was kind of a fun thing. And I never thought anything of it. In middle school, my email was meelypops@yahoo.com or something like that. And it morphed into a monster is what happened. So it's an old nickname that became a name of a business. And now we have it slapped on stickers and windows and shirts, and we're going to be making a second store. So it's a good talking point. It's definitely a strange name, but Meelypops is an old nickname for me, and that's just kind of what we've ran with.
Very cool. Andy wanted to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melda Law, has Anthony Richardson's value in the card industry gone down since his injury?
So he's a very, very interesting study. So Anthony Richardson, when he played week, was it 1 through 3? He caught a lot of people off guard. I think a lot of people thought he was going to flop. They didn't think he was going to amount to much. I knew he was a high pick, but people just didn't see it. And he actually looked pretty good. I mean, he was taking on linebackers, and he looked good. They won a couple games, and they were close in some games. Of course, the injury happened to his shoulder, but his cards have actually come up a little bit in the last probably I would say 2 weeks, 3 weeks. There's been a new product called Prism, which is kind of like the quintessential rookie card. It's made by Panini. And his Prism cards have come out. So because that has happened, a lot of people have been buying those cards because they're the investment heavy cards to hold for next season. So he's actually come up a slight bit recently. And I would say out of the 4 quarterbacks, he's still the second value. Stroud 1, him being 2. You have Levis at 3 and Bryce Young, kind of him and Levis are about 4. Yeah, 3 and 4 tied right there. Very close in terms of their values moving through this season. Aiden O'Connell has been he's snuck around. He's had his ups and downs. We'll see what happens with him. But this has been an interesting rookie class of quarterbacks. There's a lot of them, and we'll see what happens. Over the next 2-3 years with this class.
I wanted to ask you from like a Heisman Trophy standpoint in the collecting industry. I know they sign a bunch of balls when all the winners go up to New York. Do those balls hold a lot of value for the Heisman Trophy winners?
Yeah, so Heisman is one of those highly collectible subcategories, I would call it. You see a lot of people with desiring to see that Heisman inscription, the year they won the Heisman. I know Coach Spurrier, he does signings with Fanatics and things like that, where he'll get balls, and all the other guys have signed those footballs. Those sell for quite a bit of money. We're in a world now where autograph signings are a dime a dozen with almost every athlete. They're doing them, once a month. They're doing tons of items, and it's flooding the market. Something like that is very special because it's hard to get, number one. 2, if there's an inscription on there, that makes it even more special. But people they know that the Heisman is such a historic and prestigious award. So yeah, to answer your question.
All right. Before we get you out of here, looking forward to like the draft coming up. Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner, Michael Penix, the way he's playing. Who do you think will be the hot item ticket next year when draft rolls around?
I think it always depends on, of course, where the guys go, right? You know what I mean? We have no idea where they're going to land. What's going to go on Caleb Williams, right? You know, what's going to happen with Drake May? You know, where are these guys all going to fall? But those four guys that we've just mentioned, the two I just mentioned, the two you mentioned, are going to be highly sought after. Jaden Daniels is very interesting because I think he wasn't on everyone's radar before the season started. Everybody was talking about May and Williams and Penix. So I would say those four guys. I think that those guys are gonna be very interesting. A hometown guy that I think will be interesting to see where he lands, to see how he fits in the game. I'm sure you've probably talked a lot about this as Pearsall, to see what kind of happens with him. I've seen his autographs trend up a little bit recently since he announced he was going to go to the draft. So thinking through those things, the draft is up. It's coming. Football really never stops. It's year round here at the shop, and I'm looking forward to seeing another great quarterback class next year.
JB wants to know, has UF approached you about any NIL deals?
So they don't usually approach me. What I usually get approached by is sometimes like family members or agents, so from the NIL guys. And then I reach out to people here and there. We had a great relationship with Anthony. He came to our shop, Anthony Richardson. Last year, we did a couple of signings with him. It was great, have him in the shop and having products. We sold a lot of jerseys at Christmas time here. So there's some excitement there for Gator players. We unfortunately were able to get ETN and Pearsall in the shop this year. ETN might have been a good move because I would have had a lot of unhappy fans coming back with their signed Gator merch. But it's one of those things that we get approached. It's typically more for opportunities, not for autograph signings. From our side in the collectibles, we're trying to do more of the autograph signing, not like appearances and stuff like that.
Speaking of ETN, this made me think of it because NFL guys and major league guys, they change teams all the time through free agency. Would an ETN signed Gator jersey now be worth anything?
No.
Now that he's going to play
So
Georgia?
I think right now you have to think about, usually when I think of worth is who wants to buy it. So if I were to go to the Gator contingent and say, hey, who wants an ETN signed Gators jersey? How many people would raise their hand, right? So it's one of those things where I'm happy for him. I mean, I hope for success for him. He was a Gator, once a Gator in town, always a Gator, hopefully. Or many of you guys say he's Gator bait, but I think stuff like that is very tricky. A good example, I'll just throw it out there, is Urban Meyer Gator sign things. You would think, and maybe in 5, 10, 15 years later down the road, we'd see some changes, but so many people bring him in and they don't want it, and it's tough to market for his stuff. So it's interesting. Think about that. Once you've kind of changed sides, you've gone away, gone astray, how the value is impacted.
That's interesting. All right, before we get you out of here, let our listeners know, can they come to your shop? Y'all buy stuff, trade? How do y'all do all that?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different ways. Our shop, you can always come on in, bring stuff. We have a team of people here. Wednesday to Sunday is when we're open. You can find us. We have a website, meelypops.com. We have Facebook. Anytime, if you just Google Meelypops, you'll find all of our different platforms. Instagram and Facebook are probably our biggest that we sell on. You can bring stuff by. We buy, sell, trade in the shop. We also have online opportunities. There's a big thing that's it's kind of swept the hobby the last 10 years. It's called breaking, where you open up cards live for people, kind of like you would on YouTube right now. And people would buy stuff and you open it for them live and you ship it to them. You can set up breaks by teams and other things. So we do that on Instagram. We do that on an app called Whatnot, and we do that on TikTok. We have shops on all those platforms. So if you're on any of those, you can find us there and break with us, as well as YouTube. And we have our shop opening in February. So that'll be another fun expedition. If anybody's up in that upstate area, come out and visit us. We'll be located at it's called the Upward Star Center. It's a huge building facility is where our store is going to be. And we'd love to talk sports cards up there or here in Gainesville.
Great stuff, Jameel. Happy New Year and congratulations on your new shop, my man.
Yeah, man. Go Gators. Happy New Year. Thanks, Shane.
All right, that's Jameel. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Take a quick time out, come back, get to more of your questions. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's. Eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. I want to thank Buddy and Jameel again for joining us on the Tight Number Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Jerry says on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plumbing. What about the years 82 through 86 teams? Yeah, they had some good teams. I'm just talking about in general. We were really relevant, and I know people don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it either, but I just try to state what I believe. Can we get back there? I think so, but we got to overcome a lot of good football teams where they are right now. This Day in Sports brought to you by Quality Plumbing. No, it's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. All right, on this day in 96 and in 97, a good day for the Gators and a bad day for the Gators. First, we'll go with the bad news. In 1996, at the 25th Fiesta Bowl, the Cornhuskers slaughtered the Gators 62-24. Lawrence Phillips, Tommy Frazier, still running. But in 1997, in the 63rd Sugar Bowl, number 3 Florida beats number 1 Florida State 52-20 for our first national title. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Also want to give a shout out to Dady Werfel and Jeremy Foley. Both were inducted into the Sugar Bowl Hall of Fame this weekend at the Sugar Bowl. So congratulations to them.